that would
Hi, welcome. This is a video we're making for anyone who's a new Menopause Cafe host, or maybe you're thinking about becoming a Menopause Cafe host. And we get asked the same questions over and over and over again. So I've invited two very experienced Menopause Cafe hosts to answer those questions or give their answers to the questions. So we've got Kirsty Dixon from Menopause Cafe York. Hi, Kirsty. And Sam Jones from Menopause Cafe Staffordshire. Hi. Right, well, popular questions coming up. How long should my menopause cafe be?
Hi, do you want to go first, Sam?
Thank you, Kirsty. There is no real set time for a menopause cafe. If you're doing an in-person cafe in a venue somewhere, it's usually around an average of 2 hours. But, you know, if you'd prefer to just do an hour, then an hour is absolutely acceptable. It's really what suits you, what suits the venue. You can always extend the length of your cafe once you get going and once you're known for holding the cafe. If you're really unsure, start with an hour and look to extend it anything between 1 to 2 hours.
Thank you, Sam. Great, and I'd just add if it's a workplace cafe, because you can either hold your menopause cafe within your workplace just for staff or publicly open to the public. If it's workplace, lots of people find a lunch hour works well, and just invite your colleagues to bring their lunch along. Great, so next question. How often should I hold my cafes?
Yes, popular question, that one. Really, it's how often can you run them? It's something that you're doing as a volunteer. So how often can you realistically run them? For myself, I run them every month. I know some people who run them every sort of 6-8 weeks, do them bi-monthly. So again, a bit like how long should it be? It's down to what works for you. Yeah.
Cheers, Kirsty. Well, what's a good time to hold a cafe?
Again, this is where you will find the best time. So you've really just got to start with what you think is right. If you have a few friends who would be interested in coming along, ask them what the best time is for them. Is it daytime? Is it evenings? Is it weekends? That way, it's a good gauge for you to start to advertise your cafe. If you're finding that it doesn't work of an evening, 6 or 7 o'clock of an evening, then perhaps try and put it on at the weekend and try it at the weekend. And it always depends as well whether it's a workplace event as well. So if it's a workplace event, it's usually around lunchtime, probably just fitting it in for half an hour at lunch.
I actually had somebody the other day who they actually liked a breakfast menopause cafe. Their canteen opened at 9:30, so they had their cafe first, which for them works really well. So again, it's that thing, if it works, find out what works, and then maybe even plan a few dates in advance. Once you've found out what works for your cafes, you might want to plan a few dates in advance so that you can advertise them.
Great, and I'll just add, you cannot please all of the people all of the time. If you pick daytime, they'll all say, why can't you do evenings? If you do evenings, they say, why can't it be weekends? Yeah. So you need to be fairly resilient, stick to what works for you and the venue, and have to accept that you can't meet everyone's needs.
Okay, yeah.
Now, a lot of hosts ask this: how do I market my menopause cafe and let people know it's happening?
Yeah. I think this is probably something that quite a few can struggle with. The sort of channels that I have are LinkedIn, Facebook. The other one that is really good is Eventbrite. Even if you don't need people to sign up, for my menopause cafes, I don't expect people to sign up if they don't want to, but it's a great way of advertising and getting it out there. Mailing lists, posters. I've got posters all over the place in doctor surgeries, and can't think of the name of the other thing I'm trying to think of.
Health centres,
surgeries, and yeah, libraries,
Mhm.
you name it. Wherever you can get a poster, supermarkets, that's a good one.
Yeah. And think of gyms. Think of school, I was going to say common rooms then, but the staff rooms. You know, think of those places if you've got a friend that could put a poster up in those places. Think of the pharmacy. It's where we go to get our HRT prescriptions. So perhaps you know, your pharmacy can put one up there as well. And I think, you know, as I think Kirsty's already touched on, social media is the most powerful way you can let people know about your cafes. But also talk to your local council and find out where you can advertise for them, possibly even look at small village magazines that come round and see if you can talk them into letting you have a free advert to put the poster in there or something like that. So many places you can advertise.
And don't forget to advertise on the actual Menopause cafe
Website. Yes. I'll just jump in there. Please register your cafe on our website. There's a link under cafe hosts. There are two reasons for this. One is to keep our statistics up. Journalists are always interviewing me and asking how many cafes we run. And the only way we know is if you register it. And the other is to publicise it, because once a week we do a post saying, look at the cafes that are coming up. I'd just chip in, if you've got a sandwich board, I know you do this, Sam, put it outside the venue on the day of the cafe, or we put a poster up in the window. And if it's a workplace cafe, stick a poster on the inside of the loos. That's where people sit and watch, or get the managers to email it round. If it's a public cafe, maybe your GP surgery might email everybody, or your social prescribers or whatever.
I'd say quite often I've grown in numbers of contacts, like local radio, the hospital, the actual hospital, sort of mailing. I can't think of the name for it. Oh, it's gone. I've got we have Nextdoor, the sort of social Nextdoor channel. That's quite a good one as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, whoever you can get hold of, their contact details, just get it out there.
And it takes a lot of getting it, like, say it more than you think you need to say it. Preferably get a few friends or cafe participants roped in to help you with the marketing, because I think that is possibly the most time consuming thing of running a cafe.
Can we just touch on one part that Kirsty mentioned there, or I think it was yourself, Rachel, about a social prescriber? A lot of people might not know what a social prescriber is. And I think that, especially for myself in my area, I have found the benefits of a social prescriber being in touch with me and referring people onto us to cafes.
Great, and that might be unique to England. I'm not quite sure, given that our hosts are worldwide. Sam, so do you just want to maybe explain what a social prescriber is? Or...
A social prescriber is someone who works with your GP or in the GP surgery, who, if a patient or someone visiting them does not want or needs drugs to help with a condition or something, they may refer them to a social prescriber who can find a group, a support group, or association or forum to help them, for them to go along, join, sit and talk, just like a menopause cafe. And I've had several people come through my doors that have been referred by social prescribers. So it's worth getting in touch with your GP when you take your poster in, to put on the notice board, to ask if they've got a social prescriber, and if you can have the details to drop them some information. And in fact, my social prescribers are now on my mailing list. So that's another good way of keeping them up to date with what you're doing.
Thank you. And keep a mailing list of all the people who ever attend and are interested, so that whenever you have a cafe, you just send it out to all of them. For people outside the UK, when we say GP, that means general practitioner. You might call them your family doctor, whoever the general doctor is, or medical centre that you go and see. Great. Well, why do I have to register my cafe? We've touched on that briefly for the stats for us as a charity. and to publicise it, because we publicise all the cafes registered on our website. But it's also, even if it's an in-house workplace cafe, it's good publicity for your workplace to have it listed on the website. And we'll say in-house, so you won't get people outside the organisation turning up. And please include your contact details, your name and either your email or your phone number, so people can contact you. Some people are really nervous. They don't want to just turn up. They want to be able to give you a ring or an email beforehand. Hey, Kirsty and Sam, what sort of venue can I use? People ask.
Well, I think the main thing is that it is fully accessible. I mean, we say that it is a accessible space that way. And I think that is one of the things that's really key, is trying to find somewhere so that we're not, just, you know, making it impossible for somebody to come. I think that is one of the, you know, that was the main thing that I was certainly looking for, as well as having somewhere that is a good space for having a confidential conversation so that people don't worry about being overheard. And a kind of welcoming space, I think, as well, is really important as well. So that, again, you know, you might have people come in who are really struggling, they're quite down, they're quite low, so making a nice ambience, I think, is important as well. I
think it's important to remember as well, and this, I think this is one that came from myself a while ago, is your choice of venue. Sometimes think about if it's a pub or if it's a bar, because we do have some people that come through the door that might not want to be in an environment that serves alcohol or has a license to serve alcohol. And that may be through choice or culture. So being fully accessible for so many reasons is really, really important. And there's a lot of venues out there that you can really choose from. So it's not just a pub or a bar.
I think one of my biggest problems in the area where I live was finding a venue that wasn't too expensive for people to purchase, and a space where I didn't have to guarantee them a certain number of money over the counter. So it's being aware of that as well, thinking about, well, actually, if it's somewhere that's charging £4 for a coffee, there might be people who can't afford £4 for a coffee. I've been lucky. I found a venue that supplies all the tea and coffee. I just have to bring milk. So, you know, again, and also the whole thing of seeing what you can get from local businesses, maybe sort of local supermarkets, etc., that might donate you a cake or something to have at the cafe as well is a good one.
Yeah, we did quite a lot of walking around, popping into local independent cafes and asking the owners would they be willing for us to hold a menopause cafe there, and selling it to them, because they get new people coming across the door.
Absolutely.
And for us, if it's a public cafe, then they'll display the posters and it's a place people are used to going into, rather than associating it with medical care or a church or a pub or any of the many other ones.
And also thinking about things like we've sort of said about being accessible in an accessible that, you know, somebody's got mobility problems, etc. But also thinking about things like if it was a club or something that had a political angle, that sort of thing, bearing in mind that there might be people who say, I'm not going because of what it's associated with. So, you know, thinking of that as well, trying to make it as neutral an environment as you possibly can.
And I always double check it with someone else, because I'll have my own blind spots. Like, I don't mind going into church halls, but for someone else, that might be quite disturbing.
Yeah.
Or I don't mind going into a pub, but not everyone is like me.
Yeah.
So double check it with somebody else who's different and say, would you find that venue welcoming? Would you feel you belong? Yes. A lot of hosts go, oh, what materials do I need to run a menopause cafe? Do I need to print off questions and menus and what would you two say to that?
I'd say the one thing you need is you.
Yeah.
Just you. And perhaps somebody to help. No materials, nothing. As long as you are happy to speak and welcome people in, that's all you need.
Yeah. The things I do have, obviously on your venue. You might need a bit of signage to send people your way, some arrows. I have what I have behind me. I have on the wall as well, so that it's a very visual reminder of our, because obviously, you know, menopause cafes are run very much to the Menopause Cafe Charities guidelines, and these are the 4 real great ones to point out as well, and have visually displayed. If you want to, you can have, I've had things like I put a flip chart up with one side saying, how do I feel? How did you feel when you arrived? And then at the end, asking them how they felt at the end. So a nice little visual, and usually at the end is considerably better than at the start. You might want to print off some of the evaluation forms, or there is a QR code. You might want to have a poster with the QR code that you can sign people to. But yeah, I mean, some people do have bits and pieces that they put on the tables, etc. But that's entirely up to you. As Sam said, as long as you're there with your welcoming, friendly smile, and you can have questions. You know, the first one I had, literally just written on a bit of paper, it said, "Why have you come here today?" I've never needed it. Never needed any prompts for any questions, and I'd be surprised if many people do.
I'll just jump in there. I know people are anxious when anyone talk, and that's why you might want to put questions on the table. But remember, questions will direct the conversation.
Yeah.
And the essence of a menopause cafe is it's directed by the participants. It's what are they interested in? They might want to talk about HRT or running or diet or meno rage. Who knows what they want to talk about? So I love that question. What brings you here today? What's your interest in menopause? One thing I find useful, is a bell to ring when it's time to move tables. Yes. Or clap your hands loudly or have a big voice. But yeah, something. And sometimes we bring the QR code for our donations page in case they feel like making a donation to the charity.
And tissues.
Oh yes, essential.
Have a box of tissues to hand. And there was something you said before that made me think of one other thing. Oh, something to time with.
Oh, yeah.
Because if I don't, if I forget to put my timer on my watch, eventually I go, oh my goodness, what time did we start this group?
Yeah.
It happens.
Thank you. Can I ask for donations to cover costs like room hire or refreshments?
Yes, you can, but you have to make it clear that it is purely donations and you're not charging for entry to the Menopause Cafe. As part of being a charity, we cannot charge, and we have to make that clear from the outset. If it's a case of you've hired a village hall and they've allowed you to use their kitchen, their hot water, their equipment, you can say donations to that as well. But it is not chargeable. It's not a chargeable event. And when you advertise that, if you advertise it on Eventbrite, you have to say it is a free event as well, so that you're not charging for it. So what you could do is think of build up a relationship with a local cafe, a local cake supplier, supermarkets, to see if they can donate cafes or biscuits or cold refreshments if you're in a hall or anywhere like that. But again, it's purely donations.
I have a donation charge. When it gets, I didn't have, I had printing costs at one point. And obviously to sort of cover the milk, I get a couple of milks just in case I've got people there who don't want dairy. So I have a jar and I have a little post-it note that I put on it, and I just say, look, you know, anybody who wants to, but don't feel you have to. It is a donation if you want to donate towards my costs. And I've always covered the cost. I've never had anything sort of left over. But again, people generally with that, they're so appreciative that you're doing it, and they don't want you to be out of pocket. That's what I certainly found with my group. Yeah. And that if it does get to the point where you do need some donations because there's a cost, they're more than happy to do that. But again, it is just a donation. If you do have any money left over, it needs to go to the Menopause Cafe charity.
Yeah, because you can see the principle, they're not for profit. So we don't want the
Absolutely.
host to be out of pocket at all. Ask for donations. Maybe you can carry some forward from one cafe to the next. But if you start accumulating a surplus, please give it to the charity. So to protect you, so you can't be accused of profiteering or making money from people. Holding your first cafe. What advice do you have for people when they're about to hold their first cafe?
Don't worry about it too much. I think the first cafe you do, you are so anxious that no one's going to come, and have you advertised it far enough wide? You know, how am I going to manage it? So I think when you're holding your first cafe, just know your venue, get it advertised in as wide as you can. And yeah, just I think it's really just be prepared, give them that welcome, explain what you're doing, why you're doing it. Talking about your personal experience as well. I always start with my personal experience, which is what drove me to do it, and that importance of having other people to talk to take away that feeling of loneliness as much as anything. I do 3 rounds. Mine are 2 hours. I do 3 rounds. We have our welcome, grab our first cuppa. We do our first 20 minutes. I ring my bell. They then move around, because obviously the idea of the cafe is that you're speaking to lots of people, not just one table. Then we have another coffee break, and we fill up. And then we have another 20-minute round before we just have a pull it all back together of main takeaways, anything anyone wants to share. And yeah, and tie it up, and then we go merrily on our way. And usually they go leaving and feeling a lot happier than when they came in. So that's how I do mine. I don't know if there's anything different you'd add to that, Sam, or...
I think for myself, because I have 2 very different size venues. I have one venue that is very, very small, and that only have 14 seats capacity. And we do find now that we've arranged the tables that we don't move, because everybody can talk around that table, but they do get up, they go and order a coffee and a cake, and they do talk to each other when they stretch their legs. So for that, on that one, I don't need to move them around. And what we do is we start with a round robin, especially for new people coming through the door. I'm just not a loyalty club with my smaller venue, because I've got regulars that come every single time. And it's nice for those regulars. They welcome in any new people, and they are assisting me as well. So with the smaller groups, I keep it as it is. With the larger venue, they get up and move around themselves. I have prompt cards on the tables. I position materials that I have, and I carry a lot of materials. I'm probably one of the rare people that carries a lot of materials with me, that they can get up and go and read a book or pick up a magazine. And I put it in a position where they have to get up and go and find it, so that they can have a chat with somebody else. But again, a round robin, introducing people, and by asking them to say what's brought them along, it lets other people know that perhaps they can offer them some help and support if they've been through the same thing and they struggled with the same symptom or experiences, and it gets them chatting that way. So there is no right or wrong way, but you can just find your own way, and you will, from your first cafe, find what works for you.
Thank you. And I do it slightly differently again, in that we get some people coming who don't want to talk at all. So I do start them off in small groups. I always have a co-host, so find a friend to do it with you, and they stay by the door to welcome the latecomers, because it can be quite intimidating arriving late if it's a busy venue. So somebody at the door to welcome people and to catch people when they go and say thanks for coming. And I always go over the principles at the beginning. I love moving them around the tables, because you can get stuck If people are a bit timid, they might end up stuck on a table where maybe everyone's talking about HRT and they can't take HRT. And they might be too timid to get up and move to another table. Ideally, I would love it, Sam, if people just got up and moved. If you're not gaining anything from the conversation or giving anything, go to a different table. And then they gave me feedback that they didn't like doing that. And please, could I ring a bell? So different for each. Maybe I caved in too quickly there.
And the other thing I think to bear in mind as a cafe host is that you are there sort of facilitating. And one of the things that I do is when I set them off on a 20-minute is I just it's not a huge room, and I just kind of linger a bit and listen in, just in case I've got anybody that is being overpowering, or somebody who's maybe being so negative, you can see that it's bringing the energy of that group down. So just kind of monitoring that. If I do get a group where I feel I need to go and sit down and try and change the, the sort of atmosphere in the group, I will do that. If everything's happily chattering away and I want to join a group because it's all going okay, I just go and plonk myself at a table and join in.
Yeah. I do the same, scan the room, and it also sends out the message they're in charge of the conversation, so they're not all turning to us as a host.
Exactly.
But yes, on that point of, I guess, difficult behaviours, sometimes you will get somebody dominating a particular table.
Yes.
Not through any malice, just because they've got so much on their mind, they kind of can't stop speaking. And I wondered if either of you had any tips on how you manage that if you happen to spot one participant completely taking over a group.
I tend to
carry on, Sam.
Sorry, I tend to wait for the opportune moment to possibly say, that's really interesting what you say. And then I say, my participants wear badges. So Julie, what do you think? Have you experienced that? So I try and bring somebody else in to really get their point of view and ask them. Because it can be quite off-putting, as you say, if someone is dominating the conversation. So it's waiting for that opportune moment and bring in to get other feedback, bring other people in to get other feedback.
And that's basically what I was going to say. So yeah.
And I sometimes interrupt them, but I try and do it politely to say, right, so what you're saying is, and then I reflect back what they've said. But, you're at the end of your tether and you feel hopeless, or you're saying you can't get hold of medication. And then I'll say, I wonder what other people think, just so they feel heard if I feel the need to interrupt them. Thank you. Can I hold a cafe online?
Yes, you can, and they do work. I actually held one this week. You're advertising it in exactly the same way, but obviously on Eventbrite, it's great if you can put on that the Zoom link, and or whatever it is that you're using. You might not be using Zoom. I use Zoom, but you might use something else. Getting that on there. I also email them the day before, because obviously on Eventbrite, or however they've signed up, sometimes people come to me directly, in which case I get their email address and send it out again the day before, as a reminder. But yes, you absolutely can, in exactly the same way. I go through exactly the same process of what I say, in explaining everything, why I do it, the 4 rules behind us, what it is, what it isn't, etc. All the same thing, but they go into breakout rooms instead. And I usually sort of aim for sort of between 4 and 6 in a breakout room. The one thing that I do is I stay in the main area in case anyone joins late. So that's why it can be nice to have a co-host on it, because you could take it in turns to stay in the main area. And also, I think the reason why I don't make one group stay in the main area is if anybody does kind of get emotional that they leave the breakout room, you're there in a space to be able to have a chat with them. So that's another reason why I don't, I don't go and join in. So yeah, and again, you just time it and pull them back when needs be.
and be prepared that you could have people joining you from different countries around the world.
Fabulous. Yeah.
You know, it's perfect for some people, depending on what time you're putting on that cafe online. And another tip I would give is, if you're really not used to hosting online, practice with a friend who's somewhere else. If you're unsure of the tech, how to do breakout rooms, practice beforehand, get used to it. In fact, it's what we do, don't we, Kirsty? We practice this ourselves between ourselves. We make sure that these are working online for us. So it's worth having a go and just practicing.
Yeah.
Thank you. What if nobody talks? Very common question from new hosts. What if nobody talks?
You won't have any trouble getting people talking. As we've said earlier, you've got your questions that if at the start everybody sits there a bit awkward, you've got your question, what's brought you here today? You might even want to ask something else, like, you know, what treatments, what have people tried? Doesn't have to be treatment, what have people tried? You know, etc. But I think that most hosts say that the last thing they have trouble with is people actually striking up conversation, because usually there's too much to talk about. You're trying to make sure that everybody can have their say. So yeah, it really is something not to worry about.
Yeah. I've run probably over 100 menopause cafes. Only once did we have a problem with people talking. That was a workplace cafe event, and I was in a small table or breakout room where nobody had experienced the menopause. They'd all come along to learn and listen, but I was the only one in the group who'd gone through menopause. But then we just changed the question to, what do you already know about menopause?
Yeah.
And then they could still learn from each other. I could feel the pull for me to just launch into some kind of lecture or talk. But the principle of menopause cafes, we want them to learn from each other and listen to each other. So either what brings you here and they're concerned about themselves or their mums, or what do you already know about menopause? Then sometimes hosts ask about the inclusivity, like, can anyone come to a menopause cafe, or is it just a support group for menopausal women? What's your experience, Kirsty and Sam?
It's open to everybody, you know, regardless of age, gender, anything. It is open to everyone. This is not just something, because not only do people who aren't there yet need to understand what's happening to them, and also we have the younger, you know, the sort of people who have an earlier menopause than perhaps the average is. So they still need to know about it. All the support groups of our partners, etc., the people who aren't going through it themselves personally, but they're still supporting someone. So just that thing of understanding what someone might be going through and what you can do to help. So it's really key that the message is out there, that it is not age or gender or anything else. If anyone wants to come, they can. The only thing that I will say is, sometimes I have had, sometimes, not often, someone go, oh, could men come? And I've said, yes, absolutely they can. Oh, but I wouldn't want to talk to a man. There are ways around that. If a man walks through your cafe door for that you know, that meeting, put a man on a table, and then the women who want to talk, are happy to talk to him, join that table, so that anyone that's not happy talking about their experience, etc., in front of a man, don't have to. So the man stays put and people go and join him. And in my experience, if I had a man come through the door, he would be mobbed. They would all want to talk to him. So, you know, I don't think it would cause too big a problem.
And online, where they can't choose which group they go to, I find, because we change the groups I might make it a bit short every 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Then if somebody who doesn't like to say vagina in front of a man is in a group with a man, after 15 minutes, they'll be in another group.
Yeah.
Where there probably won't be any men. Because when men do come, they're in the minority. Yeah. I find every single man who's come is humble They're there to learn. They're there because they want to support their colleagues or their partners, and they want to listen, and they go away in awe of what we women endure with our bodies and still continue working and functioning. So also some women have found it quite helpful listening to the man's point of view or the partner's point of view. What's it like for them? They know even less than we do about what's going on, and they usually get the worst of us, not always.
Can I just say, I actually do have a regular man at one of my cafes. He is the husband of a lady who attends regularly. He accompanies her in, leaves her for an hour and a half with everybody that's there, and he comes back to join us for the last half an hour. And he openly talks about his wife's experiences, what's bothering her, what bothers him, how he's coping. And I do find he's a rarity, but he's very, very accommodating of conversation. And he's a joy to talk to, and he understands it fully. And it would be nice if we could get more men through the door. So we have to promote that, because we support everybody. It's not just the person on the journey, but also the support crew as well.
Yeah. Thank you. And new hosts, do watch out for that when you're writing the blurb for your event on Ticket Tailor or Eventbrite or in the press. It's so easy to slip into saying every woman's welcome or something. Try and say people. We're here to spread the word about menopause to everyone.
Yeah.
What should I do if someone turns up at a cafe to promote their business? Or similar question, what should I do if they turn up with, free samples of, say, magnetic knickers, because magneticas worked for them?
I think here you just have to be polite, but what's the word? Diplomatic. I think that's the word I'm looking for. Just take them to one side quietly and just say, this is not a place to promote products or services. One of the principles is to not to lead anyone intentionally to any conclusion or service or product. So really, yes, it can happen. You may have a Reiki master come through the door, a yoga teacher, counsellors come through the door because they want to promote their services. If they're openly doing it, let's just really just speak to them calmly and quietly from the main group. And ask them not to do that. And if they come back and they do it again, then the best thing is to say they really are not welcome if they're going to continue with that behaviour. And again, if you've got somebody as an assistant with you, perhaps they can just watch what's happening, especially if you've got a larger group, because you may not be able to listen and watch everything that's happening.
And that can be particularly difficult in the online cafes, because when they're in a breakout room, you don't know what's going on. And I wish Zoom would change that, allow us to tune in, but never mind. But that's where this one is so important. And one of the things that I do at the start of the cafe is, when I talk about what it is, I make it really clear that if anybody is there who has a service or a product that could be helpful to other people, this is not the place to advertise it. And if I see you doing it, I will pull you out on it. So I actually am quite stern on that at the start. And I have had people who have said to me, oh, no, I'm not coming, I'm not here to do that, and then have never come back again. That's fine, because I don't want that there, and I don't want that to make things feel awkward. So I think getting that message right at the beginning in your introduction is really key as well.
Thank you. And many of us as hosts have other professions, or like my day job as being a counsellor, but I kind of leave that at the door. Yes. When I come into my Menopause Cafe and host it. I'm there as Rachel, the Menopause Cafe volunteer.
Yeah.
Rather, and I know that's true of many other hosts.
Absolutely. I'm there as Kirsty Dixon, postmenopausal woman. Anything else is at the door.
Where do I signpost people when they ask for further help or information?
You can look at the Menopause Cafe website for a start. There is a links page that's got lots of information on there, such as the Understanding Menopause booklet, which was, I believe, published last year. It's a great new booklet. Also links to British Menopause. Perfect timing. Thank you, Rachel. Also the British Menopause Society videos and the NICE guidelines. These are great resources and worth a watch, a read. There's also things like magazines to purchase in Tesco's. I think it's Menopause Matters magazine. If you can't get it in Tesco,
there you go.
My glamorous assistant, thank you. Tesco's and WH Smith. If you can't get them, you can buy them on subscription. But go and support the local newsagent or the bigger stores to try and find that first. Also use local knowledge as well. If you know of somewhere that will offer help, then you can signpost towards those as well. But don't forget, it's not promoting services or products.
The only one that I do promote is the menopause clinic.
Mm-hmm.
We actually have a menopause, and in fact, that's where I hold my cafes. It's in the community area. So, yeah.
Can I have a speaker at my cafe? You know, the local district nurse wants to talk about menopause, or the local yoga teacher wants to tell us about menopause yoga. My participants want to find out about this stuff. Can I have a speaker at a menopause cafe?
Who wants to go? I'm happy to go. I didn't know if you wanted to go on this one, Rachel, because I know it's
you go ahead, I'll add on.
Go ahead.
Like it.
Okay. So can you have a speaker at your menopause cafe? No, because that is not what
in a nutshell.
Yeah, that is not what a menopause cafe is for. The menopause cafe is a thing to bring people there, to share their experiences, to, you know, to give them a bit of a community. Saying that, if you want to tag something onto a cafe, so for instance, you wanted to have a speaker come and do something because, you know, it might be stuff that people find useful, is that you have your cafe, which finishes, I don't know, for example, 10:30, at 10:45, the next event starts. So it is not tied to the cafe. They are two completely separate events, and that is absolutely fine. The one thing that I have done is, because if you are putting something, especially on Eventbrite, having to advertise two things separately can be you know, can be quite sort of time consuming and not work so well. Is that on the Eventbrite, you can advertise your menopause cafe and put something to say that after there might be something, and make it clear that it is nothing to do with the cafe. And that is starting at a later time, but not that it is part of the cafe. Is that okay?
Yeah, thanks, Kirsty. Do you want to add anything, Sam? Is that fine?
I don't think so, because I think you touched on it at the beginning that, you know, they need to relate it. If it's a speaker, it needs to be relatable back to the menopause.
Oh,
so
yeah.
how can yoga help with your menopause symptoms, or if you're struggling with flexibility due to the menopause and the bones and joints hurting, how will yoga help through menopause? So it has to be relatable.
Thank you. And I'll just explain the two reasons we're really firm on this. One is because we're registered with the Scottish Charity Organisation, and they told us very clearly if we had speakers at a menopause cafe, we would be responsible for those speakers. What if a speaker gave some advice about menopause, like try black cohosh or something that maybe works, but there isn't a firm evidence base, and someone went off and took that? So we don't offer advice because we're not menopause experts. And the other reason we don't is because we're a grassroots organisation. We're about getting people chatting and building community and empowering people, rather than keeping them in the position of, oh, here's the expert, I need to listen to the expert. There's a time and a place for talks. We have nothing against speakers talking about menopause. We have them at Flushfest. But a cafe is a very different type of environment. It's a building community, sharing stories, sharing questions, sharing tips, and getting to know each other. How do I end my cafe?
How do we end?
I think the first thing you've really got to look at is that it's watch and listen. And hopefully people are, I wouldn't say enjoying themselves, but they're engaging, they're talking. They probably were a little bit slow to start the conversation at first if they're a little bit shy. So if they're already having some great conversations, ask them, was there something that we spoke about today that made you think, so that's possibly what it is? Yes, it was that. It's not just me going through this. And this is a phrase that a lot of people will say, I thought it was just me. So ask them how they're then feeling once they've learned that, once they found something that they've realised it is to do with menopause. Ask them for their feedback, and there's several ways they can feedback. We have participants' feedback forms, which we print out and have available on the table. They can fill them out, fold them up if they want to keep it a little bit private and hand it to you. Or we display a QR code we take with us that they can just zap on their phones and give feedback online, which goes directly back to HQ. But also tell participants about links to your own social media pages where you post Menopause Cafe events. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, any Menopause Cafe news, as well as on the Menopause Cafe websites and Menopause Cafe's own social media platforms as well. I think that's about it from me.
Yeah, I think for me it is that summing up or, you know, taking the takeaways, because people might have taken stuff away that they've been thinking about and haven't said, and quite often some really good little things come out of that. Really plug in the evaluation, and the importance of it is to make sure that the menopause cafes are you know, being run in the way they should be run, etc. Yeah, I don't think I've got anything to add to that.
Great. Yeah, I just invite the whole group to say if they want, what are you taking away from this event? Sounds very similar to what you two do. And I like to give them the date of our next Menopause Cafe and encourage them to come along and bring a friend. What should I do if a researcher, someone researching menopause, says they want to come along to my cafe? Or if they just rock up and go, I'm here because I'm researching menopause.
I've not had this too often. I have had it a couple of times. And I do sort of run it in the same vein as I do oh sorry, there's brain fog. Okay, it's gone. Sam, take over. It's gone.
Similar to if you've got a man in the Menopause Cafe. So if the best way of doing this, if they identify that they are a researcher and they've come along to learn, they want to take away informational learning. If you're doing the movement around on tables, ask them to sit on a specific table and let everybody who's attending know that there is a researcher and that person will be staying on that table. If they want to sit down and talk to them and offer them some feedback or experience, then at least they know that person is doing research. Do you want to take over on that now, Kirsty?
Yeah, no, that's kind of basically what you've just said, and it's gone again. I'm sorry.
Oh, just tell us when it comes back.
It's gone again. Oh my god. Yes, yes, that's it. Because I had honestly, I had Health Watch get in contact, and I actually asked Rachel, went to HQ to say, look, they've asked if they can come along. Is it okay if I do it in the same way as I would if a man come, or, you know, if you did have a local MP that wanted to come along, sit them on that table? And it actually worked really well, because especially if that research is for the benefits of people going through menopause. And there's loads of stuff going now because lots of students are doing their PhDs and their dissertations and things on menopause. So if we can, and also the other thing I find is that when those people come, oh my goodness, the women would, that they make a beeline for them because they want their voices to be heard, because they want to help the future generations.
And on the back of that question, what should I do if a journalist or TV want to turn up at a menopause cafe?
I think it's really key. The first time that happened with myself, actually, they did come and just interview me for why I did a cafe. If they want to be involved in the cafe, I think it's just really important that you are open with your attendees, and that if you have got a room of people who say, oh yeah, let them film away, we're not bothered, we're for it, then great. But if one person is really does not want that, because let's face it, it's a very personal time and not everybody wants everybody to know. They're not all like us who shout it from the rooftops. Then you have to think about whether or not, because I wouldn't want people to not come because a journalist or whatever was going to be. Now it's easier if it's a journalist, because then again, like with everything else, the journalist can sit on a table and the people who are happy to talk to them go to them. But if it's filming, just be really clear about what you're allowing them to film.
Yeah, I agree. I think taking a photo at the end is fine, because anyone who doesn't mind being in a photo gets in the photo. The ones who don't. I think it was Pat had the local TV company coming and filming it, and I can't remember if she let everyone know in advance so they could choose whether to attend that particular cafe or not, or if she told them when they arrived and they could keep one table out of shot.
I think she advertised it, that they were coming, but it was also that anybody who didn't want to be filmed made sure they, that there was an area where they would not be seen.
And the other thing I tell journalists who come along to join in is, please come as a person, as yourself.
Yes.
Not sort of voyeuristically sitting there and listening to what everyone says and scribbling it down. Come and share what your interest is in menopause.
Yeah.
And join in, and ask permission from the people on the table. Just remind them if you are writing anything down or recording it. And people can withdraw their permission after the event too. That's important.
Yes, that's a good one to be
clear, because you might say, oh, it's fine, and then end up talking about something and think, actually, no.
Can I just say on that point that tends to happen, I find, around when menopause is in the national news, and when there's another document been released, there's new legislation, you will get a phone call as a menopause cafe host, probably from your local radio, from your local TV. They want to come and talk to you. They may just want to interview you separately, but they may want to come along to a cafe if they've seen your advertisement on Eventbrite and they know you're holding a cafe. So be prepared around, and especially around World Menopause Day as well, that can happen.
They often ask us, and we refer them to the listing on the website, even if they don't go on Eventbrite. So we just say to any journalist or any person who says, is there one in my area, we say, go and look at our website.
Well, I've done a couple for local radio, local BBC radio, and they've said if you can find anybody who comes to any of your socials, like the cafe, etc., who would be happy to come along, that would be great. And I basically just reached out to the people in the group and said, is there anybody who would help? Now, if nobody come back, I would go on my own. But so far, I've not struggled to find people who are happy to speak out even on radio.
And it's great publicity. Coming back to the earlier question, how do I market my menopause cafe? You can be welcoming to your local journalists.
And I've kept the email of when they sort of email me, I've kept that, and now I email them when I send my email to my mailing list of, can you please advertise this? The local radio station are on that.
Excellent. Many hosts say, oh, my cafe only has a few people attending, only 4 people turned up. What should I do?
4 is better than, you know, it's the no one turning up. You're bringing 4 people together. You're getting them to talk. You're getting them to share experiences. If it's only 4, it's only 4. It could be more next time when they go away and they've understood more about it and they talk to other friends. They may bring people through the door next time. There is no magic number. There is no magic formula to bring people through the door. Hardest thing is getting people to come through the door. And you will see the look of, like, the anxious look on somebody's face as they walk through the door, but as soon as they start talking, they relax. So there is no magic formula. Just be welcoming, talk to those people, and it will work, and more people will come through the door. If it's one person the next month, if it's 6 people the next month, there is no magic number. You are there to support, help, and talk.
I've had, my numbers for my cafes have ranged from 1 to 16, and, you know, everything in between. The average number at a cafe is about 9 or 10, and I would say that's probably my average as well. But as I know from a host catch up the other day, there was one person who said that they had only had one person, but the conversation they'd had with that one person made such a difference to that one person, and they left really happy. So that's it. Don't get hung up on numbers. If you don't get a lot of people come, and even if you get nobody come, don't let that put you off. Keep trying. Eventually you'll get somebody through the door. And in my experience, once you get somebody through the door who really loves it, they're going and telling their friends and bringing their friends the next time. So don't get hung up on numbers. That is, you know, anybody who comes that you help has made it worth doing that cafe.
Thank you. And that's another reason, I think, to get a friend or someone else to do it with you, because that helps to keep your morale up if hardly anyone comes. It reminds me of one host who told me only one person came to their cafe, but that one person was suicidal, partly because of their menopause. And the host was able to chat with them, and they went away feeling they weren't alone. And they came back a few months later and said, "I'm so glad you spoke to me. I'm so glad the cafe happened." Just on that point, it doesn't happen often, but you may get very anxious people or suicidal people. You know, you don't know who's going to walk through the door. And I think the important thing is, don't feel completely responsible for that person. Your job is to signpost them. Give them the Samaritan's number or whatever the charity is in your country, someone they can ring. And just by listening and saying, "That sounds tough. Here are some numbers you can ring. I hope you feel better soon. Have you talked to your GP?" You know, all of these things you can say. Do you two have anything to add on what to do if somebody in despair attends the cafe?
I think.
I was going to say, I've had one person who came who was very low, and I have sort of taken them. There was one person who actually wanted to just be sat with myself, so I did that, you know, and had a chat. And like you say, you've sort of listened to them, tried to sort of offer the help that you can, but we're not trained to do that. You know, there might be people who run cafes that are, in which case, fair enough. But, you know, a lot of us won't be trained in that. So I think, like you say, I've done the sort of thing of signposting them to their GP, to local helplines, and just tried to, you know, understand what's going on for them, let them have their say, because often that. But I've not had anybody being really disruptive with that. So,
and that's another reason why it helps to have 2 of you. If any participant just gets upset or angry or anything, one of the 2 hosts can go and attend to that person and sit with them while the other one keeps the rest of the group going.
I did have one time, actually. I've just remembered, and I thought, oh my goodness, she's not happy. She doesn't look happy. And she sort of suddenly sort of gnashed out the door. I thought, oh goodness. So everyone else was chattering. So I went out and she'd sort of disappeared. Anyway, it turned out She just had the menopause bladder problem and she was desperate for the loo.
Loo.
And my thing of her looking like she was, actually wasn't. When I said to her, "Are you okay?" She went, "Oh yeah, yeah, I'm fine. She said, I'm loving it." I said, "Oh, I just, I was a bit worried there. You looked a bit." "Oh no," she said, "I'm just taking it all in." So again, sometimes, it can be that people might sort of look a bit like that, but actually, that they're she was actually okay. But if they do leave, go and check to make sure that they are okay.
Thank you. And I'd just add, just like everyone's menopause is unique, every host's menopause cafe is unique.
Yeah.
We all abide by these 4 main principles and everything on the website, but you will make it your own by your choice of venue, your style of facilitating. So we're just sharing our experience, but you'll make it your own. Yeah. Who can I talk to about hosting a cafe?
Get in touch with Menopause Cafe via the website. I think all the information is on there. If you look at hosting a cafe tab there, I think it tells you all the information that you have to read. You have to look at the working agreement and sign the working agreement or agree to the working rules. There's a video, maybe another video very soon, how to hold a cafe. And also, if you want to hold a cafe, why don't you go along to another cafe that may be local-ish to you, or join an online cafe, see how it works, and if you still want to do that, then get in touch with Menopause Cafe themselves. We have lots of resources available to you, and once you're on board as a host, then we have obviously our chat groups where we can talk to you regularly via WhatsApp. We pass ideas around, ask questions. If you're experiencing this, is anybody else experiencing something at a cafe? If you're concerned about your first cafe, ask questions. Again, this is what this video is about, to help you. But there's always so many hosts available to ask a question to. There is always somebody that's going to come up with a suggestion or some help for you.
I think the key things is the WhatsApp group. If you do become a host, get on the WhatsApp group, because that is such a great community. We hold bi-monthly menopause host meetups, which myself, Sam, and another host called Pat run.
Online, so anyone can join them.
They're online, so anyone can come. The evening one is 7 o'clock for about an hour and a quarter, hour and a half. And I've just started doing a 9 o'clock in the morning one, which I will also do bi-monthly for people who can't come. And whether that is, again, the UK, or whether it's because of time zone issues. And they are a great way as well to get to meet other hosts. And the other thing to say is that myself, Sam, and Pat, if anybody does want to speak to a host to have a chat, because a meeting isn't till the next 6 weeks, or whatever, we're always happy to do that. So you can reach out to us. I actually spoke to somebody the other day who had to leave the 9 a.m. one that I did, and said, look, and I offered to her and said, look, do you want to chat still? And we did. So you've got a support network. You have got a really good support network there. There'll always be someone to talk to.
Just contact us via the website or email us, and we'll put you in touch with an experienced host who'll talk to you.
Yeah.
What one tip would you share as an experienced host to a new host?
I think my top tip we've already talked about, but I can't stress it enough, is don't worry about the numbers. Do not get hung up on your numbers. As we've said, even if you help one person, you've had a successful cafe. The average is only 9 or 10. So, don't think you're going to get, hundreds of people turning up. That's highly unlikely.
Thanks. My top tip is find a friend. So even if you hold the first one on your own, ask those people who will help me next time. So you're not on your own, so you don't have to cancel if you're not well, and just to share the joy and the burden of hosting a cafe.
I would say we're here to support you. Don't panic, relax, and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Enjoy hosting, enjoy bringing people together that are there to help each other and support each other.
Thank you. And what do you get out of being a menopause cafe host?
For me personally, helping and bringing other people together to talk about menopause helps me on my menopause journey as well. As a postmenopausal woman, I sailed through most of it. It's only now am I struggling. So by bringing these people together, it's helping me, and it's really opening up avenues of learning and more learning for me as well. And I just like to see people happy and supported, and being able to point them in the direction of where they can find that help, and to see them come back through that door the next time with a smile on their face saying, wow, I went and got that help, I went and found that, it was brilliant, thank you, and they're back. And that's the best thing about it.
Yeah. It absolutely is. I mean, for me, it is just the helping people and seeing them walk through that door, like with the biggest rain cloud pouring down over their head, to come into that cafe and to leave in like as light as a feather. As some of my feedback has said, I came in feeling a former thingy of myself, and I left feeling like a warrior. And I would say now, my kind of is, you know, the people who come, I almost feel like I've got my little army behind me. And it's a wonderful thing. It's the community.
Yeah.
It's not just the individuals, the group, you know, that you help. It's the community that you create. And it is such a supportive community. And the other thing is, I've had people who have come to the cafes who are now friends. They came as strangers. They're now friends, supporting each other every day. Priceless.
Oh, thank you. I echo all of that. I love the way we can create community and people exchange numbers. And we're empowering people. I think they're feeling help. We're either empowering them to go and see their doctor, maybe after they've spoken in a cafe and then come back and said, oh, I had the courage to go and talk to my doctor. Or when they come out saying, now I know I'm not alone.
Yes.
Or now I know I'm not going mad. I think, wow, that was pretty simple for me. I didn't have to do much or say much. I had to create the crucible, the container, to let people help themselves and help each other.
Yeah.
And it's feels a bit of a cliche, but does actually feel a privilege to be able to do a bit of good in a world that often feels quite gloomy.
Yeah.
We can help people. And I've learned masses about menopause. I
have.
didn't know much about it, and I needed to hear it several times, hear people's stories, before I actually learned so much from the participants.
Because then we can share that knowledge with people.
Yeah.
And it's a wonderful thing that you created, Rachel.
Thank you. But as Heather and I say, it's the hosts, it's the volunteer hosts that make menopause cafes work worldwide. And you are helping to make menopause part of everyday conversation and unite people. So thank you, Kirsty from York and Sam from Staffordshire, for answering some of the frequently asked questions from new hosts. New hosts, feel free to email us or contact us via the website, www.menopausecafe.net. Sam, could you give us a twirl? Because I rather like the back of your jacket when I saw it.
Let's see if this works. I'll try not to disappear into the background.
Into the background, yep.
Yes, hold it there.
Oh, hang on. Oh, yeah, be happy. Be happy. Thank you. That's fabulous, Sam. And a quick plug for the Menopause Cafe shop, which you'll find on our website, where you will find the Menopause Cafe ribbon. If you wear this, it will show people that you are up for a conversation about menopause. You can also find a Menopause Cafe bag, pens, and various other things, menopausecafe.net, and then hit the shop button. because we do want the whole world talking about menopause, so that anyone who wants to feels able to talk about it if they want to. And so another big shout out to all the hosts. Don't let it become a burden. Do as much as you've got the energy and the time for. Get support from the rest of us. Join our tribe and help break down the silence, shame and fear that currently surrounds menopause, and show people there's a way through it. So thank you again, Kirsty and Sam, and we look forward to hearing from all the new cafe hosts. Bye.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you.